in the presence of fire and water. They consecrate the child in the name of the Sugmad, the Ek, and the Mahanta.
Well, I personally aren't going to do anything with Trinity, but that is the format of the ECK Consecration Ceremony, which happens to be one of 4 celebration of life ceremonies in Eckankar. Originally, there was not any rituals that most people would have had to spend more than a few tries to try to learn, but Harold Klemp, one of the people at the office, decided that it was a good idea to invent some ceremonies because people were using their own ways, or they were using material from other societies. And of course, as a corporation, if you can create something that will increase your revenue, like ceremonies for children, for adolescents, marriage, and funerals, then they will go to you and your clerics to do that. Sugmad is God as a noun, Ek is God as a verb, Mahanta is the way shower. In Eckankar, they believe that their current living Eckmaster is the highest state of consciousness. You don't, even try to do anything better than he, because supposedly you can't. They actually believe he is the inner and outer master. So when this is prefaced with something saying it's done under the supervision, well, it doesn't have to have any direct role, but they did take writings from Harold Klemp and Paul Twitchell. Paul Twitchell has been dead, and people forget about Darwin Gross in between. Even their history of Eckankar ignores Darwin Gross like he never happened, even though he was, according to the testimony of Harold Klemp in the 1985 court case, he was the living Eckmaster as well, and the Mahanta. Harold Klemp was not the Mahanta until they voted in that August board meeting to make him that. And like all such ceremonies, whether you're talking infant baptism or whatever, it's really for the child. It's done for the child, but it's really done for the parents or the guardian. It's the child's, whether it's done as an infant, like an infant baptism or something, or whether it's done later. It's supposed to be the first formal introduction to the spiritual community. And you find that also with the akika. It's not really for, in the Islamic tradition, it's not really for the child as much as it's for the parents. The child's not going to remember. Now, Eckankar doesn't do some ridiculous stuff like ritual genital mutilation. In fact, in Islam, there's very sound traditions about that being forbidden. And there's even Quranic verses that can be used to point out that, removing that main source of the immune system down there is not allowed. And anything supporting it is actually weak, or just according to the, oh well, the Jews did it. Well, the Jews did it. Doesn't mean we have to do everything the Jews do. Um, on the right side of the initiator, we'll have a flower, or well, the cleric of the Eckankar ceremony, a flower, a candle or a bowl of fire, a bowl of water. In this case, I brought out a cup to make the point. Um, as with the other celebrations of life and the initiations, bringing fresh clothes, whether that's new or whether they've just been washed, and then you go out washed and clean and freshly clean clothes. The music during this celebration of life ceremonies are to be done from memory rather than listening to a recording. You can have recordings before or after. Um, people would prefer a peaceful setting, and the cleric would introduce himself. In other ceremonies around the world, you might have incense as a symbol of air, or something as a symbol of earth, because that's clay. Um, and this is another type of clay, so that's basic introduction to the faith is typically part of these, and in Eckankar it's the same. Sugmod, the one we seek. Hugh, as Hugh. Everybody does a song and as part of the ceremony. What Eckankar is supposed to be, religion of the light and sound of God, but it's a corporation, which kind of makes one wonder. Spiritual eye, instead of being pineal gland, is actually located on the forehead. The fire, the passion of God, the water, the spiritual current, and kneeling for humility. Handing over the flower for symbol of blossoming, symbol of continual development, bestowal. The hand ran through the trial. Maybe it means the hand through the fire. Perhaps it means a trial. There'll be trials in life. The sprinkling on the forehead. But you can be purified through the trials. Ek in Eckankar means all sorts of things, and that's one of the things that holds the group together, I guess, is because people mean all sorts of different things. Some people could worship the Holy Spirit like the Christians do, and that's just the Eckankar name for the Holy Spirit. Some people, in some contexts, it definitely means the corporation. In some contexts, it means God as a verb, and that's the context I use it in terms of, well, if I'm going to say there's Ek worship, I am not worshiping some Trinity. I'm worshiping God. And God is a noun and a verb is combined. So Ek and Sugma is really Yahweh or Allah or whatever you want to say. Instead of the donation to the poor from the weight of the hair, that first haircut in the Islamic tradition, or maybe it's just an Arab thing that was allowed. You have people like to donate to the Eckankar Corporation, whether it's the local chapter or the broader. And the child, whether or not they're going to remember it, is told that, oh, well, here are the practices. You got to live a pure life. You got to keep a dream journal, and eventually you'll be fulfilled. I don't think that works. That just try again until you actually succeed. That works as long as you're alive. You can continue doing that, but the parents are to repeat along with part of it. trying to acknowledge everything is, to make things spiritual through their actions. And there's this concept of being a child of God, which is brought up, but again, that's not something one has to take literally. And it ends when they give you a certificate that says, "Oh, who did it? Who did the ceremony? Where? When was the child born? Who were the parents?" So when they spend the $5 for one of these little books, that's what happens. And please, if you do a ceremony like this for a child, don't punish the child and those around by filling the room so much with smoke for your air symbol that you're going to, are it's better to use things that aren't drugs and have a more authentic and controlled experience. But everybody is free to initiate their own child into their own traditions and explain their own traditions in their own way, or the traditional way of those societies. But